Hello and welcome to Is This Thing On, episode 3. I don't know why I'm numbering the episodes per se, but I do like to think of them as interrelated. But today we have Forget Basement on, which I am very excited about given how active you've been lately. I mean, it's just been wild.
Yeah, I've been trying to stay busy. I mean, I always do, but I've been trying to stay busy, like publicly, I guess.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
It is a different kind of like you have your personal lens of it. Like how do I see myself as busy? And then like, how do other people see me as busy? So I definitely,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And then first comment I got to make is the 16 horsepower shirt.
Hell yeah.
That rocks. I've been trying to put so many more people on with 16 horsepower.
Oh my God. Love them. They were literally like my introduction to country. Because before that, honestly, I was like one of those people who was like, I like all music except for country, ska. I've never fucking liked ska. But my dad played them for me, and I was like, damn, this is like goth country. This is fucking sick. And I got really into them.
Yeah, they're wonderfully. Yeah, you said it perfectly, like gothic country sort of stuff. Like I remember around the same time, I was the same way, exact same way. Like I like all country, but I wasn't raised with it or anything. I didn't get it. And then I heard Towns and all that stuff. But then, a month later or so, I'm going on this deep dive and I find out about them and I'm just like, this is the best. Like they're so creepy.
Seriously.
They seem like they would be an influence. Like now that you're wearing the shirt, I'm definitely connecting the two a bit.
Yeah. They're just like their whole demeanor. It's like so intimidating, I love it.
Yeah, it's very fun. Well, maybe fun isn't the right word, but alrighty. Well, I'm honestly a little unsure where to start because I mean, between the album you just dropped, Arkangel, and the performance that just happened last night, which was wonderful. That was so much fun.
Thank you.
It was my first time participating in a Twitch chat, I think.
Yeah, it was mine too, honestly. It
really
was fun. Yeah, because usually I'm like, I don't know, the last two like oral erotica shows, I was like projecting the shows because I have a projector instead of a TV.
That's sick though.
And I had Zoom on my phone, so and I was also like super fucking drunk during. So I was like really paying attention to the Zoom and stuff.
I feel that, but yeah, it's just like I don't know. The community is so good. Like around oral erotica and all that. Just like everyone I was chatting with, like I think I've talked to two of the people that were in that chat before, you and Emma. Obviously you, like this is our first face-to-face, really.
Yeah.
And they were all just so welcoming. It was so much fun. I had such a good time. And that is perfect. I guess we might as well start with talking about the performance.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I guess I'm to understand that this was kind of a performance more or less for like your capstone for the class or school and all that. Can you kind of describe that?
Yeah. So I'm currently in my final semester at Columbia College, Chicago. I'm a music technology major with a concentration in electroacoustics. And this semester, this is the first time they're doing it, but we have like a capstone class. There's always a capstone, but this year it's a class, I think, just to serve as like sort of more of a guide for students with the pandemic and everything, because I'm sure a lot of people are like, I don't know what this is. But yeah, it was basically up to the students as to like what they wanted to do. Just a project, to like cap it all off. What have we learned? And something that I am super interested in and have been for a while was like sound design, sound synthesis from scratch. And actually, when the class started, like the first week, the teacher was like, "Okay, what are your plans for your capstone projects?" And I was like, "Damn, we're supposed to have a plan already? Like, I have no fucking idea what I'm gonna do." So I FaceTimed Emma.
Really?
I need your help. I don't like. They're like, "You can do anything." And that was like so overwhelming to me that I was like, damn, I don't know what to do. And Emma was like, look at this capstone from the perspective of like a classical musician's, like what their capstone would be. Like, what would a violinist's capstone be? And I'm like, damn, that's so smart. So I said, what if I compose something on exclusively the mono machine? Because that's just a synth. It's like just sound. It's just like waveforms. And it's super flexible and weird. And I was still kind of new to it. So I was like, this would be a great opportunity to learn it. So I did that.
I think that's a wonderful approach to it, honestly. Yeah. And I think watching that performance, it kind of like made me want to go back and be like, okay, I kind of need to like sit with what I have right now for a while. Cause I've been lucky enough to like get a bunch of gear recently. I've been working a lot more, and luckily that's been paying off here and there. But watching your set with that like it's one instrument, it's one contained thing. So, your mind's not trailing all over the place between like a synth and a sampler and a drum machine or whatever. It's one condensed thing. And I thought that was really wonderful. And I was actually curious about what drew you specifically to the mono machine, aside from what you said about like just building ground up.
Yeah. Well, I initially bought it. I found. So Sophie, I'll start with Sophie, that was like her primary instrument.
Oh shit!
During the product era, she made so much of product on the mono machine, and I was like, "Fuck," like I need it. I need that, but here's the catch: they stopped making them. They're made by Electron. And they stopped making them in like 2014. So they're pretty expensive, especially now. And I totally lucked out, and I got one in March of last year for like $700, and they're going for $3,000 now.
I was going to say $700 seems quite low.
Yeah. Oh my God. I don't know if the person selling it just like doesn't know or something, but I was like, you could totally sell this for more, but I'm not complaining.
I'll take it.
So yeah, that's the main reason that I purchased it in the first place, and wanted to use it, was because I wanted to, like, I don't know. Sophie's my biggest inspiration probably ever. And I kind of wanted to like get a glimpse into her process through it,
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely feel the same thing here. Like, I think sometime this last year I was getting really into coil, and around that same time was the time that I started getting really into modular synthesis.
Nice.
Yeah. Which I don't know why I chose the most expensive things. I think like in their later years, they were just using laptops pretty much. So, yeah. But yeah. And then I just wanted to ask about like how you went about kind of creating that performance, just like, I guess I'm sure it was somewhat of a rigid structure because you're programming the synth and all that. I mean, Electron is known for their, signature workflow or whatever, but I wanted to know, like, coming out of this album, how are you going to weave, familiarity with the album just coming out, but also like this performance, this immediate aspect?
Yeah. I don't know. I think my process is like pretty similar regardless of what I do sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm hoping to like kind of combine everything I'm learning, throughout the process. Just put it all together so I have like as many tools as I can possibly use.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I think that's a theme that's come up across these 3 interviews, is that like a lot of the music, musicians perform, and, especially electronic musicians, because there is so much to learn, and just electronic music is a quite over encompassing term in general. But I think Gabe brought this up in the last interview. An album is like a postcard or something like that. I feel like performances are a similar kind of thing, like at a certain time. It's basically what you're learning at that time, trying to process all of that new stuff coming up. And I guess transitioning into talking about the album a bit, you mentioned like having a similar process across performing like live. Is that true also for like the creation of, an album, across albums, across songs,
Yeah. So the capstone thing yesterday, that was like something brand new that I've never ever done before, but would really like to integrate into future live performances. Like in the past, when I perform live, I have done like, I have someone doing my backing tracks and then like I'm singing. But I am planning on like switching that up in the future. I know that's not what you asked, but
no worries. I love hearing it either way.
I'm probably just gonna start doing more of like a DJ style set, but I would like to incorporate the hardware into that. Just because I think they'll be more receptive to it. But as far as the process goes, like I guess it's like always changing, but with the past 2 albums, I feel like it's really narrowing down into one thing, where I have like no other hobbies except for making music. Is like
that
it totally sucks, but that's like literally all I do. So usually my process is like I can hear something in my head and I'm like, this is a song, like I need to make this. So I'll record it on my phone, like a melody or something that's repeating in my head. And then I go home and I make it. And I kind of just build off of that. And in between working on like album tracks, I am practicing like synthesis usually. So that like the sounds that I can hear in my head, I'm like, I know that I'll be able to actually like contextualize those and create those on my own.
Yeah, I think it definitely shows. Like one thing I was thinking while listening to this a couple times today in preparation for the interview was that how just like uncompromising a lot of the sound design is. Like I was like literally listening to like, or trying to parse out each track on its own or whatever, just like whether it was leads or bass or whatever. But like everything sounds the way that I feel like it should sound. Like everything kind of fits in this like perfect spot for that. And I think you talking about like how a lot of times you'll hear it in your head is, I don't know. It's like, it's just really inspiring for one, and for two, like, I don't know, I have trouble myself, like trying to find a similar approach to both like acoustic instruments, like guitar. Like I started out as a guitarist and then went to bass, and past 2 years have been all synthesis and stuff like that. So jumping around, quite frankly, too much. But I think it's interesting because that seems to me like a kind of like bridge between those two things. It's like a pre-planned sort of thing, like knowing what you want to do, but also like playing with sound design and, you know, doing these crazy things. Sorry, I was just kind of rambling on that because that really resonated with me, actually.
I totally get it. Like, I don't know. I think where that process comes from is like, starting off playing instruments, like you have to learn like about songwriting. Like that's where you start off usually as a musician. I grew up like classically trained in piano and stuff, so piano for a super long time. And then I feel like what I learned from piano like really sculpted how I like go about making a track, as far as like the songwriting process goes.
It also like lends itself to a lot of DAWs too, so that's perfect.
yeah, that's been super convenient. I know a lot of people who like went from playing a guitar to producing on a DAW, and it's like, damn, like I can't even imagine.
It's a really hard thing to wrap your head around. Like, I'm literally exactly that. Like I just said, I started out playing guitar, never thought I would be able to command audio workstation or anything like that, but here I am past couple of years trying to like figure it out. And honestly, practicing piano and scales and theory and all that stuff has been a really big focus for me, on top of general songwriting. So you just said you just started you literally just said you started playing piano, but were there any other instruments like before, like you started messing around with synthesizers, sound design, stuff like that?
So it was piano. I played piano for years, and then I started to sing. I just like started doing it randomly. I've never taken vocal lessons or anything. Then my dad, he played guitar for a really long time. So like I asked him if he would.
Sorry. My cats are going crazy. I don't know whether to keep them in the room during interviews or not.
Yeah. My cat has been super fucking weird today too. It's the moon or something. But my dad, he played guitar for a really long time. I asked him when I was pretty young if he would teach me how to play it, and he gave me one lesson one time, Flaming Lips on guitar, and I was like, okay, sick. And from there, I like taught myself how to play it. So yeah, I play a little guitar and a little bass, but I still don't really know how to read tab or anything. Yeah. Until something sounds good, I play with it.
Yeah, no, tab is weird too, because it's one of those things where like a lot of the online tab is like people hearing it out themselves and figuring it out, which can be a good thing because it leads to like kind of your own interpretation of the song. But like somebody else trying to learn from what you've written out can be really strange. So at a young age, I just started learning by ear, which was really beneficial. Ear training is a huge deal.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's wonderful to hear that, you picked up vocals pretty early on too, because that's something I feel like I have such a disconnect with. And like now I'm really trying to like engage a more vocal part of me. And sorry, I went from talking about the album to talking about like your origin story, but I'm so curious.
Oh, no problem.
But yeah, could you talk about like what, learning about your vocals and like how you wanted to express yourself in that way was like?
Totally. I don't know. It was really weird. Like I've loved music so much ever since I was a kid, but like the first music that ever resonated with me was electronic music that was usually just instrumental. And I never, ever expected to be like into vocals or singing at all. And one time I just like, I just kind of like started doing it. I was super young. I think I was in like 6th grade. And I kind of just went from there. And I slowly came to the conclusion that like vocals are like the most expressive instrument ever. Like, because I don't really listen to lyrics. Like, when I write lyrics, I'm not like exactly thinking about what the lyrics mean on like a superficial level. Like, what are the words saying? It's mostly like how you say them and how you sing them gives them meaning. You know, you could say anything and like you could make someone cry depending on like how you sing it. And that's like so valuable. So I wanted to start utilizing that as like a powerful like lead instrument in something. The first vocals I ever did for like a band or like a music project was in this like hardcore band that I was in high school. And yeah, that was a case of the lyrics like not meaning anything, but just really like getting something out of my system.
Absolutely. Like, I think that definitely shows on this record too, especially what you were saying about like vocals just having such this range. And like, you know, like you were saying before about like how you hear things in your head, but then like, you know, you'll try and make them with like a synth or something like that. There's like a whole process in that, which can be great, obviously, but like vocals, it's really like you think it and more or less like you have this instant feedback. And, you know, anyways, talking more about the record and the vocals on it too, I think that's a really interesting kind of insight into like this record. Because I was like trying to parse out the lyrics and parse out like what's the like wider theme of this? Is there a wider theme? Is it, you know, which maybe I'll get a little bit more into that later. But I think your lyrics do have this kind of like raw, like almost like, I don't know why this is the closest thing I can think of, but that like Iggy Pop approach to lyrics, you know, where like he has this whole method where it's like, what is it? He uses like 15 different words in a song, and then that's all he can use. Obviously there's songs on here that have like way more like lyrics and stuff like that, but like, I guess in a long way, what I'm really trying to say is you have a knack for hooks. Like,
thank you.
I think you really do. Like, there's so many like really good chanting bits on this. Like, I mean, straight out the gate with the first track, I'd literally, why am I
Garden?
blanking on it? Yeah, Garden. That's right.
Yeah.
Which I love the name of that too, given like how it sounds, like this growing motion.
Thank you.
But yeah, like there's these chants almost you have in Garden, and then in the final song, Hex Wench, which I think are perfect bookends.
Thank you.
So I think bouncing off of that fact, I really wanted to know like how you went about like ordering this record, like kind of like finding an order, maybe not finding an order, maybe, you know, making it from the start. So how did that come about?
All right. I'm going to give you the timeline for Arkangel. Basically, the first song that I made that ended up being on Arkangel, which was actually the last one that I added, was Mammoth.
Really?
I made Mammoth in December of 2019. And it was when I first discovered Autechre, and I literally like, it was all I listened to. And I was like, I need to fucking make something like this. So I just made it. And the first, I made the intro and then the like drop, the initial drop. And that was pretty much it. And I was like, cool, I'm just going to like play this at shows and stuff. It'll be really fun. And then in, I think that March, I made Garden. It was like late March or April. And I was like, fuck, this pandemic is like hitting me really hard. And No, actually, okay, I'm fucking it up. But
No
anyway,
worries.
in like April. And by then I had made a bunch of songs that I was like, these are gonna be on Arkangel. And I had all of these tracks that I was like super ready to like build on. A lot of them were done. I made it super quickly. And then I don't know, something, I think it happened in like the summer. I was like, this isn't the album that I want to make. So I scrapped all of it except for Garden.
Whoa.
Started over, and then I Understood was the first track that I made after throwing all the other ones off. And I made I Understood, and I was like, this is going to be the second track after Garden. Just because like I feel like the second track is like the most important track on an album.
Yes, I have the exact same theory. I am so glad someone else has said it too.
Yeah, because you're like, okay, there's like an intro, that like that introduces you, but then like you have to be prepared for what's to come. So like, what's the track that's going to sum it up? That's going to be like, this is what the album is going to sound like. Get ready. I was like, that is I Understood. And then after that, I honestly kind of made them chronologically. So that was how the track list came together. Except for track 6, there was like a hole there. And I was like, something has to go in between Eve and Twice Fold, and it needs to work. And I was like, holy shit, Mammoth.
Yes.
I have to make Mammoth a song. That's going to be perfect. So that was how the track list came together.
Yeah. I mean, I think even like Emma mentioned that Mammoth was in the Flesh Seeker set y'all did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's crazy. Some songs, I'm honestly going through the same thing right now where I have this song that's just like plaguing me almost, like it's just in my head all the time. Been working on it for 3 years because I'm an idiot and I lost it in files. And so this is like, God. I'm going through my 3rd time recording it.
Oh my God.
Which means hopefully that it's that good, but we'll see.
I'm ready.
All right. Well, I'll keep you posted, of course. But anyways, I mean, and you talking about Mammoth and kind of like how that was simultaneously like the genesis of Arkangel, and then also, the bookend to it, not to say bookend too much, but I was really curious about kind of how did that all happen between like these blaring synths, just like droney, that blomp, like almost Hans Zimmer-esque sort of thing. But then it has like free jazz as the outro. It's the coolest shit ever.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how did like adding, was the free jazz part of it, like, did it start out that way, or was that something that got added like way later on?
That was probably the last thing that I added to the writing part of the album. I was playing the track and I was like, am I going to go into another drop, like similar to the first one? And that's, I don't know. I don't like to do the same thing twice. So I was like, I have to do something different. And I sat on it. And one night I was like, damn, like, what if I just made it super noisy, like all of these brass instruments going fucking crazy, like, and I kept thinking about that and I was like, yeah, that's what I have to do. So all of the like organic sounds that you hear, they're all samples, just like a bunch of different samples.
Whoa. I said, whoa, that's pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah. Because I don't know, like in a perfect world, I would get a band to play it, but I am impatient and I wanted it right there and then. So I put that together and I was like, yeah, this is what it needed.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to ask if there was like a personnel behind that. That's honestly like, that's so crazy because it sounds very natural. It sounds like something like a band would play. So I'm actually really surprised to hear that samples. That's why it struck me so much.
I'm really glad. I'm really glad.
Another track I had a lot of questions about just because of like, this one really like sticks out in the track list for me. I mean, they all have like something genuinely different to bring to the table, but Vanity, that one, Rager.
Thank you.
Speaking of samples again, there's a really fun one in that one that you catch just shortly, but it's perfectly placed. But that marching band,
yeah,
that's in there. I thought that was such a fun decision to do.
Thank you.
So I don't even know like if I have a question about it per se. I guess I just want to say like I love that track, and I also love, I think it's Angel that comes right after it. Once again, speaking about the order of the record, like I think it was so perfect to play something so like hardcore against like a club banger.
Thank you.
That also has like hardcore elements. I just remembered this for some reason. I remember Emma mentioning that Arkangel is part of a trilogy per se. So does that include the Elephant Tree?
It does. I had this idea in my head. I don't know. I got like kind of into numerology a little bit, and particularly like the number 9, just because it's like such an interesting number. And I wanted to make 3 albums. I decided this after Self-Titled. I was like 3 albums, all 9 songs, and they are going to be connected. So here's a little Easter egg. The last words of the Elephant Tree are the first word on Garden.
Oh my God.
I think it's also the same key. So yeah, if you listen to them like back to back, it works.
I was going to say like I didn't listen to them back to back. I listened to the Elephant Tree at work, and then I listened to Arkangel twice when I got off work today. But I didn't even catch that for some reason. But so basically it's 2 parts now. So part 3 on the way. And we'll kind of talk more about like what you got planned for the future, I guess, later. But yeah, I was very curious about that. How do you go about like making a trilogy besides like what you just said with, these elements of like numerology and also like linking lyrics and stuff like that? Is it more extensive than that as far as like making a trilogy for you?
Honestly, like not really. I'm seeing this trilogy as like this brand new like forget basement, because Self-Titled was so different, and the process was so different. I was in such a different place, and after that I was like, I need to make something that is like more refined and something new. So with the Elephant Tree, I was like, I am going to get good at synthesizing everything from scratch that I can. So I did that with the Elephant Tree, and it was this new sound. And yeah, I kind of just wanted to like take my project, take Forget Basement more seriously. And I wanted to make like, I don't know. I think I'm like, I set this goal in my mind, like make a trilogy, because I need to have something, or else I'll get like super bummed out and depressed. Because I don't know, I feel like every time I drop an album, I'm like, fuck, now I have to start over. Now I'm like, now I'm like, I have to complete this trilogy, you know?
Yeah. I feel like that's a more like hopeful and positive kind of, you know, like perspective on that for sure. That's actually very wholesome. It's like just it's like the end of one thing, but the beginning of a whole nother for this over encompassing thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I actually really like that you brought up kind of that like transformation between like self-titled and, you know, Elephant Tree. Cause that was something that I noticed, like, I think when I first heard about you, cause I remember I slowly got to know Emma, and then she was always posting about you. And so I was like, okay, I got to try this out. And so I listened to self-titled because I don't know, I love self-titled albums. Like, I don't know why. It's because it's that like definitive thing. It's if you're self-titling something, that's like, that's you, at least at that moment in time. But I think it's very interesting that kind of transformation you had, or you are continuing to have, as any musician does. And speaking, I guess, of kind of like, you know, transitions, new things and stuff like that. I really also wanted to talk about like Flesh Seeker, because I got Emma's, you know, not input, but, you know, perspective on that whole thing. But I was kind of curious, like, you know, what was your perspective on that, working on that Aral Erotica performance and just kind of building that whole thing up?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, for the record, just to clear this up, I'm not drinking milk. I'm drinking White Russian. I don't think I'm like a fucking weirdo. But anyway, with the question. So yeah, Emma and we have known each other since middle school. And in high school, we like really got to know each other. And in college, we've been making music for a really long time. So we made a lot in high school. And in college, like, yeah, we both lived in separate cities, but we still talked a lot. We still collaborated pretty frequently. So Emma was like, yeah, fuck this. Like, let's just do our own online show, because neither of us were having any luck with booking anything. So we FaceTimed and we like, you know, shot ideas back and forth. And she was like, let's do a back-to-back set. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. I'm super down. Like, I've always wanted to do that. I have always wanted to do that with her in person. But I was like, fuck yeah, let's like test it out. And she was like, why don't we just start a group together? Like, yeah. I feel like we should do that at this point. And I was like, you're totally right. I know she told you this, but I had sent her this meme. It was an AI meme of these two like birds cuddling. And it's like so ridiculous. It says, fucking, he who seeks flesh seeks a wife.
The most ominous shit.
I know, it's like so fucking strange. So I sent it to her and she was like, let's call ourselves Flesh Seeker. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we debuted Flesh Seeker there and then. We made like a bunch of new material for the set. And then, yeah, Body Drama came about. She was like, I'm working on this school project, and sent me that fucking 800 times sped up version of the set. I was like, this is fucking crazy. She's like, let's drop it as the first Flesh Seeker single. So I was, let's do it. And then Party Thing came about. And yeah, I don't know. I like love Emma. I've never really experienced like that feeling of collaborating with someone like that, where it's like so fucking like fluid and organic, you know, like she's such a comfortable person to be around. And she's just like the smartest person I've ever met, which is super helpful.
She is brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Yeah. I am like honored when she like wants to do anything with me. But the future of Flesh Seeker, I'm actually going to Seattle in about a week, and I'm going to go up to Bellingham. We're actually trying to play like an outdoor show.
Awesome.
But I'm going to be there for like a couple nights, staying with Emma. So hopefully we'll bust out some new Flesh Seeker shit.
Yeah. I mean, she even said, she was like, we don't feel like doing anything necessarily until we can like see each other again. And I'm glad that that's a little sooner rather than later. I mean, no rush at all. Like, please, like, anything. Like, I just gotta say, when you were talking about like body drama, that first single, like, and like I was saying, like, I learned about you through Emma, and like there was just this slow cascade of like, not slow, it was actually relatively quick, of you know, Elephant Tree, and then going into like our erotica and body drama. And when that dropped, I was just like, this is the most insane first single I think I've ever heard from any new artist. Like, and it's just the coolest shit. So I have so many nice things to say about it.
I'm so glad. I really appreciate it. You know, like the thing I love about Flesh Seeker and having projects like that is just because my personal like process as Forget Basement and the Forget Basement output is like so meticulous and like precise. I like, you know, it's very much like it needs to be a certain way. I love Flesh Seeker because it's like, yeah, Emma was just like, listen to this crazy fucking thing I made. Should we put it out as our first single? And I'm like, let's do it. You know, there's a lot, like, I can do things that I don't want to do as Forget Basement that I really want to do in general.
Yeah. And she had even said at one point that there was like this, there's this like file y'all were sharing. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember if it was you or if it was me and you too, but she had like a file sharing thing with somebody. No, it was you, because she mentioned that there were like pieces she used from the scrapped Arkangel in something.
That was Party Thing. Yeah,
that was Party Thing. No, I think that's such a cool kind of like overlap too. And also just like speaking on just that element of collaboration. I think it's something that a lot of us, you know, probably every musician is facing right now. It's just that, like, obviously a lack of collaboration, but like, I don't know, we're all so in our own heads. So I thought I'm going in 12 different places at once because that makes me think of the final lyrics to the album. It's all in your head from Hex Wrench, like that kind of the vocals that come like one phrase after the next. Brilliant. Every time that happens, I'm like, yes. Sorry, that was a short kind of tangent, but anyways, it's something that I've been experiencing a lot too, and like thinking about when making my music is like how much I'm in my own head. And in most, not all, but most collaborative experiences I've had, it's always been like this freeing, extremely natural, just kind of flow of things, you know. Occasionally it can be forced, you know, when the energy is not there or you're not inspired. But I think, you know, I think it's even more like, I keep saying wholesome, but I think it's even more wholesome to hear that, like, you know, y'all have been working together since, you know, middle school. And that kind of leads me into a question I am actually very curious about, going back into origin story stuff. But as far as like it, you being from Washington initially, where in Washington, by the way?
I spent time so I spent an equal amount of time in two different places in Washington. I spent about 7 years in this small ass town in the valley of Mount Rainier called Duval.
Oh yeah, I know Duval. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a cute little area.
yeah, but I've definitely learned to appreciate it more now that I'm an adult. Instead of like it just when I lived there, it was like it just felt like I lived in the middle of fucking nowhere, and like
I can see that.
yeah, but yeah, going back, I'm like, this place is so beautiful. And then yeah, after Duval, actually about halfway through middle school, I moved to Seattle proper.
Oh, really? So like the city, Seattle. Wow. Mm-hmm. So that must have been a huge change already.
It definitely was. It was like nothing but positive though, fortunately.
That's great. That's wonderful. And I mean, I guess that suited you at least somewhat for like moving to Chicago. And I was really curious about, as somebody who just moved from Washington, lived there my entire life until this past year. I was curious, like how that move has impacted your music over time. Like, when did you move to Chicago?
I moved to Chicago. I moved here for school and lived in the dorms starting like fall of 2017. And then I moved here into an apartment and I've been here ever since in summer of 2018.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, I guess just like how do you think that impacted your music? Do you think that had any influence on you, like starting more with the electronic stuff eventually, or?
It definitely did. It definitely did. I couldn't really tell you like how exactly it influenced me, but it definitely did in like very natural ways. I don't know. Chicago is so different from Seattle. I was actually like, it's jarring how different it is from Seattle, because the first thing I noticed when I moved here was how much louder it is.
Really?
It's so loud. There are trains, you can hear them from like anywhere in the city. They're super loud. People are super loud. And Seattle is so passive, which is something I've learned to really appreciate as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, like if we're on the bus, don't say anything. but here it's like people like, they like to say stuff to you. It's definitely a more aggressive city, in a good way, I would say. But as far as like the music scene here goes, it's so much different from Seattle. That's a huge part of it. I
can imagine.
Yeah, in Seattle there is like really there are barely any scenes, from what I saw while I was there. I would go to punk shows sometimes, but here there's a massive electronic scene. People, playing shows, and there are like huge raves. So I think that was pretty influential. I was definitely introduced to a lot of different like electronic artists and like, yeah, just electronic like DIY venues and stuff that I hadn't seen before.
That sounds completely like alien to me for whatever reason. Cause like, I will say Austin doesn't have much of that for sure. Mm. And honestly, like Chicago, it's baked into Chicago's DNA, you know, being a hub for like the OG, you know, acid techno and house and all that sort of stuff. Like it is the genesis of a lot of electronic music we know and love today comes from Chicago. And I've had a very similar experience in this as far as like the loud versus quiet. I hadn't even thought about it too much until now, but definitely there's that aspect of like people being a lot more open. There's something about Seattle and just like how closed off everyone is. And that definitely reflects in the scene, like you were talking about before, or the lack somewhat thereof. It's these little like pockets. I think it's not so much like an over encompassing scene. It's just like you have your kind of psych kids and then you have your like hardcore kids, but the hardcore kids are really more kind of from Olympia and, you know, it's Seattle and Washington in general is just very weird to track. Musically.
It's extremely strange. And you would think it's the opposite, honestly, considering like how many legendary bands and musicians are from there. But it's kind of interesting.
It's a weird thing, especially like looking at it from like more of a historical, I guess, standpoint. I've gotten really into this podcast, No Dogs in Space, which actually was like an influence for making the show. Are you familiar with Last Podcast on the Left?
No.
They're really fun. So it's these three guys that are all like obsessed with, you know, occultism, esotericism, all that sort of stuff. And they basically, some people call it true crime. Anyways, one of the guys from that show is like a huge, you know, music fan, drummer, you know, makes all this really cool stuff. But they did a season all on like punk and just like, you know, all these classic punk bands. They do a whole series on the Misfits and all that, but they do this really interesting one with the Screamers, where they talk about how the Screamers, this band from simultaneously LA and New York, because they were, you know, Rolling Stones per se, they eventually made their way up to Seattle and kind of like created that preliminary punk scene that would eventually become like the grunge scene. Sorry, I'm just kind of waxing on that, I guess.
No, that's cool.
It was a really interesting thing to learn. And I think it's interesting to have somebody else like reaffirm these feelings that I've had my entire life growing up. Sorry, you're giving me so much that like I think about in my free time. I'm loving it.
I'm glad.
But yeah, we're vibing. We're on the pod vibing. But yeah, the other thing I really wanted to touch upon is your style, just in general. Like, I know that's an over-encompassing thing, but I'm talking more visually. Because I feel like that's something that like you continue to like just refine even more and more. Like just when I think like they've got it nailed, like this is it, you push it further. So I guess like, I don't know, like, was that a very conscious thing for you, especially given like this whole trilogy thing? Like there is a image kind of linking between those two albums on cover art alone, but also, you know, a few of the promotional elements, your Instagram, stuff like that. Like, was this something you built?
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know, initially, I think it was subconsciously, but I've always been hugely inspired by, like goth musicians, particularly Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And Nick Cave is one of my favorite artists of all time.
The best.
I don't know. When I was young, because he's my dad's favorite musician, and so that really like, I don't know, it really fucking clicked with me. And seeing him perform in a suit, but it's like the most chaotic performance ever. Like there is something, I love that juxtaposition, and I'm sorry for using that word, but the juxtaposition, like it's so cool. I love seeing formality in the middle of total chaos. And that was something that I like really wanted to embody. So yeah, I've always really, really, really loved that. And I've kind of just been rolling with it, and it's kind of taken its own course. And the visual aspect is another one of those things that I kind of just like, I like, boop, like get this image in my head, and I'm like, oh, I need that to be the album cover, or I need this to be the promo. Like it's just something that pops up in my head, and I like can't stop thinking about it.
No, it definitely comes off like, because I was wondering, part of me was thinking like it has to be at least somewhat calculated, like because it's so good. I feel like I come off as a kiss ass on the show.
Oh no, I love it. I don't think you do at all.
I'm worried about it occasionally. I'm just so excited about the music, and obviously like as somebody who's like trying to learn, I want to learn, That's also the importance of this podcast to me, at least. If it's not important to anyone else, I don't give a shit. Yeah. It's on YouTube either way. But no, and I think it's very interesting to like talking about that like order, but also like juxtaposed with chaos. And I think like the Arkangel cover is like a perfect kind of, it's very bold. You have that striking red kind of velvet background. Then you have the suit, like you were saying. And then you have this like vicious smile. Was that a Richard D. James nod?
It was a little bit, yeah. I absolutely fucking love Aphex Twin.
How could you not? I mean,
yeah, seriously.
It's
who doesn't?
I've been having my whole like, I was into Aphex growing up a little bit, but really only selected ambient work, the first album. And the past year or so, like when I decided, okay, I'm going to learn more about making electronic music, this guy's the gospel. So, I'm just going to study this. And then as I was studying it, I actually like connected with it very deeply, which is a hard thing to convey with the specific type of electronic music that he makes. So yeah, I keep waxing poetic on all these different, artists and all that, but it is a kinship, I guess, to share across probably all electronic music producers. Like
absolutely, yeah.
Everybody's influenced, whether directly or indirectly, by Richard. So
yeah, seriously.
Ricky. Should I call him Dickie? I don't know.
Ricky.
I've heard some people call him Dick, which I think is terrible.
Really?
Yeah. Like, oh my God. But regardless, I think I think you really perfectly covered all the bases very concisely too. I'm glad, because I'm always so worried about like how much I ramble, because I get very excited about things very easily.
Yeah.
And the final thing I have to say, really, in connection with that style thing, is goth. It's something I've like nailed down in the past like 2 years. Emma was talking a lot about like reconnecting with her like child self or something. And I remember like going to the mall for the first time and stepping into a hot topic, being like, this is sick. This is awesome. Like, this is so cool. And I was like, so inspired by mall goths. And I think for a day, I had saved up my money. It was weird too, because I went from being like a skater kid or a wannabe skater kid, because I didn't skate, into being like a wannabe goth kid. I was like, I did a little bit of makeup my mom helped me out with, but it was literally only for a day. And I felt so embarrassed, because I think I was in like 6th grade or something like that. I'm like the one kid who's coming to 6th grade dressed up like gothic or whatever.
Yeah.
That being said, I did have the right parents for it, though. My parents grew up like during like they tell me these crazy stories about going to the club and like dancing to New Order when each of their albums would come out and all that.
Same. Oh my God. Like, I'm so fucking jealous. I hate being like, oh, I wish I was alive in the 80s, but like there are a lot of aspects that I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I would love to have been.
Honestly, yeah. And like the stories my parents have in specific, I just like just of that specific era of like new wave and dance and all that and going like because it was kind of like you had this like weaving community of like goth kids, but also like not often, but occasionally like jock or jock adjacent types, you know, like my dad looking back on it wasn't like per se a weird outcast type. He got along with like he was relatively popular, but he would go to these like new wave clubs and like dance his ass off with my mom, who at the time had like the comb over and the colored hair and stuff like that. So it's something that I've been reconnecting with a little bit. Like, and my girlfriend just got these 6 sword earrings.
I have been looking at those the entire time. So fucking cool. Those are so cool.
We got them at the Ren Fair that we went to.
Oh my God, that looked so cool. I saw it on your story.
I highly recommend going to a Ren Fair. Anybody who listens to this or watches this too, go to a Ren Fair. You will not regret it. We went to the Sherwood Forest Fair in Texas here. I don't know why I had to clarify in Texas. I've been talking about Texas this entire episode, but it was so much fun. The dressing, like all the costumes. It's a money vortex, though. I will say, like go there, you see all these booths. You see the the jewelry they have, the leather shops, all these places, and you're just like, well, I can't get this anywhere else.
You're like, oh, I came out here.
Might as well, Yeah. And you just get to like drink mead openly and like smoke off of a tobacco pipe.
That's like, oh my God. Of course. Like, it's such a trap, but it's so fun. It's so fucking genius.
It really is. It's wonderful. And, coming back to like reconnecting with myself as a child, I used to, for 2 years in a row, I was obsessed with pirates as a kid. Obsessed with pirates. I watched the Pirates of the Caribbean behind the scenes, like that separate DVD. I used to watch that on a daily basis in like 3rd or 4th grade or something like that. So we had like a pirate fest. And there was one in Everett. I don't know if it's still running, but went there for like 2 years in my like pirate outfit.
Oh my God.
Next year, I think like, okay, I've gotten a taste of the Ren Fair. I'm going to like actually suit up this next time.
That would be so fun.
Exactly. Like I never get to like dress up like that. Like I'm sitting here in like my hat and t-shirt. So you've inspired me in more ways than I can count throughout the course of this interview, like reconnecting with the Gothic side.
Good.
But yeah, oh man, this was such a lovely conversation.
This was really, really great.
Yeah. I love doing these. I don't give a shit if nobody watches.
Yeah, seriously.
You're starting to attract some attention though from that like Reddit thread I saw today.
Oh my God. What the fuck? I don't know what that meant. Not even one bit. What did they mean PC? Like there was so much to unpack there.
There really was, but I mean, I think it's cool enough that it just popped up. What's crazy is like usually like during my breaks at work, like I'll browse, like I'm subscribed to the PC Music subreddit, and so I like, but I think it got like buried because for good reason, only because it really fucked up how they typed it out.
Someone was, I love the comments. They're like, okay, well, this was just giving me a stroke, so I don't know what this means.
But there was somebody else. There was a separate account that was like, that was backing y'all up. They're like, they just did this performance and all that. So shout out to them.
That was actually Lestara, Sam Melnick, who played cello on Twicefold. So
whoa, shout out. Let's shout out. And I mean, I think you and Emma and just like everybody that like is surrounding you at the moment, between like me and you two, and like everybody that's collaborated with Arl Erotica. I mean, shit, last night I was introduced to 11 Pigs, who is, that set was insane.
Oh my God. Shout out 11 Pigs. Like, I found him through the fucking Electron Reddit.
Really?
Yes. He posted one of his singles. He was like, hey guys, like, I'm a new artist. I produced most of this on Mono Machine. And I was like, I'm gonna check this out. And I was like, holy fuck, like this is so good. So we kind of just started talking through Instagram and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, it's I think I'm gonna hit them up. I think I think I want to do an interview with them real
Yes.
bad. Yeah. So I just, after that set, I was just like, okay. Anyway, long story long, honestly, like y'all have created such a really cool community through this whole thing, through Arl Erotica, through your own music, and all of that I think is truly wonderful. I'm trying to find the right way to kind of like conclude this, I guess. But I guess just like for y'all out there listening, there is so much to find between, Forget Basement's releases, Emma's releases, me and you two, all that stuff. And hopefully I will be covering more of them. I'm pretty sure I will be. I'm going to start hitting people up more often now. But I just want to thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for the music.
Thank you so much for having me. Seriously, I really, really appreciate it. All of your support, like, it literally means the world to me. So thank you so much.
I appreciate that so much.
I'm serious.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate it. And, I don't know, it comes from a like strong sense of, I don't know. I want to help y'all out in any way I can. And I want y'all to help me figure how to do this shit out.
Yes. And I absolutely will try if I can.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much once again. Yeah. Thank you for listening. I'm going to stop recording now.